And Bill King joining us from Nashville Sports Radio, the king of college football talk, the prince of college baseball talk on Nashville Sports Radio 6 to 9. And Bill, one of the two Tennessee teams knocked out of Omaha, 2-Q for Tony Vols and the Tennessee Volunteers. Obviously, they had a great season, but it's always tough to go 2-Q and then get knocked out. The Bats kind of disappeared for Tennessee in the College World Series. It's not one I saw coming.
Yeah, very, very loose and easy at the plate most of the year. This team swings free, and they just weren't able to get much going. It looked like maybe early in the Texas game. I think they had, a 2-0 lead, which dissipated pretty quickly, but still a good year. I mean, we're talking, and you do a lot more baseball than I do. We're talking about a program that was at ground zero not that long ago. So he's done a really good job.
I saw a pretty big number thrown around there concerning Tony Vitello. This came from Jason Swain, and he says Tennessee is prepared to make Tony Vitello the highest paid coach in college baseball. I saw that LSU might be preparing an offer of $2.1 million.
Ooh.
And, I mean, honestly, if you're going to be the highest paid coach in college baseball, you've got to have better facilities than Tennessee has. But it's tough to wrap my mind around all that.
I think that'd be 4 times his salary right now.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Well, they're talking about a $30 million facelift or whatever they would do to Lindsey Nelson. We talked about it. They're also building a minor league facility in the downtown area, literally a couple of miles from that stadium. And the president of Tennessee is the guy heading that up because he's one of the owners of the minor league team. So they're probably going to have 2 facilities they can play with in the future.
That would be very interesting. Maybe one park for all the big SEC games, of which Arkansas certainly would be one. So, yeah. And I listened to you a little bit this morning when I was driving around, and I heard you referring to coaching carousel. But then I also heard you kind of admonish yourself for using that term. Drew, Bill has certain terms that he doesn't like to say. He uses the term verboten list. So why exactly do you have coaching carousel on the verboten list?
About 4 or 5 years ago, we came up with a verboten list for the show. And it's terms or words. Could be a short phrase or a word. Just don't use it. The first one was sample size. Years ago, I swear to God, I started that. And now I hear it everywhere. So we banned that. We use pad or something. We cannot use sample size. But among all the words we banned, one was coaching carousel because it's used so flippantly. And I don't like, here's another word, egregious. You ever notice how broadcasters, when they're talking, they don't have a vocabulary, but they use the term egregious over and over and over? You can tell they don't know what they're doing. So that's the example. But it's just terms that just spring football attendance is another one, a phrase. It's totally banned, totally irrelevant. So it's a long list, guys.
I love how you put that one out there because it sounds like inconceivable from The Princess Bride. I don't think that word means what you think it means. I've always put that one out there. Yeah. Hey, so Bill, we were talking earlier about this piece that Andy Staples wrote in The Athletic. He was in communication with Scott Strickland from Florida about his 3 basic tenets for what he'd like to see scheduling look like in college football. Drew and I have been getting into this, and I really like Staples' idea of doing away with divisions, having 3 permanent opponents in the SEC per school, and then rotating the other 5 games amongst the other schools, and it would do away with with the staleness, I think, out of the schedule. I don't know. I don't think it would hurt the league competitively. What would you think about a schedule like that?
I didn't see the article, but I understand what you're saying. Now, the Pac-12 is apparently talking about something like this, doing away with divisions, and of course that's a broken league out there, so they've got a lot to do. But Now, how would this work? Instead of having East and West, you would just, the top 2 teams, regardless of what your division used to be, would match up in the SEC championship game?
Yeah, that's the way I read it, kind of like the way the Big 12 does it, but you'd have a series of tiebreakers, of course, that start with head-to-head and go from there. I mean, I think it still would make sense.
Right. I don't, a lot of this stuff I don't like, all this change that's coming, and it's coming in an overwhelming way, for sure, but I don't know that I would be too opposed to that. I don't think, I mean, I'd have to sit down and ponder it, but I don't know if that would be harmful to anybody in particular.
I don't think it'd be harmful, and it's just kind of be something new, something fresh,
right,
and give us something to kind of look forward to, of not seeing the exact same people every year and being able to see everybody that we play in the same conference with more than once every 5 to 8 years. But Bill, a lot of people, especially, it's summertime, it's Mount Rushmore season, list season, and people come out with these things that they want to see change. If you had an audience with all the commissioners of college football and they said, all right, Bill, you get one rule to change or one thing about college football to change, what would your one thing be?
Targeting. I'd get rid of it.
Love it.
That's easy. That is easy. I would can. Now, look, somebody's out there headhunting and trying to kill somebody, sure. We need a provision there. But in general, it's a terribly one rule. I know you guys are tight. I'll give you a 30-second story. I'm about 5 years into this business, and we would take the show, this is early 90s, to Sandestin to do the show from the SEC meetings. And I'm literally just kind of getting started a couple of years in. I'm on the beach, and some SEC girl comes to me from the office, says, the presidents and the ADs are having a meeting tomorrow morning. Could you attend? I want to talk to you. And I'm, oh, God, yeah, guys. So I get up, I'm all fired up. Man, I am a star. These dudes, they want to hear from me. And I'm 26, whatever I am, right? I get in there, guys, and it is like 30 on 1 piling on me about talk radio and recruiting. It was me fighting the world. And they tried to rip into my soul and pull my heart out. I barely survived.
That is quite a scene you paint there, Bill. I mean, they didn't want you to do the talking. They wanted to talk to you.
They were dressing me down. Oh, my gosh. I came out of that room, guys. Sorry for the visual. Felt naked. That's how bad this was.
Well, that's all right. That would just make you just like, half the pitchers in Major League Baseball now that are taking their pants off on the field. They did. You think Major League Baseball thought it would come to that? Rob Manfred, nobody thought this whole thing through.
Rob Manfred doesn't think anything through, though. and speaking of baseball, Bill, I know there's been a big push for Nashville itself to get a major league team. Where does the city kind of sit on that? Is it still just a pipe dream? Still just we're hoping, we're praying for it, or are there actual moving parts of this?
I'm from here, guys, and I'm biased. I love it. I don't imagine ever living anywhere else, but I think we're getting a little too big for our britches. I don't think we could support the Titans, the Predators, and Major League Baseball. I don't think we're that kind of city. I don't think there's this article's been written for 30 years about Nashville. Hey, I'll tell you, the first time this article was written, Buster Olney was here. Buster got his start here.
He's from
and he worked for the Nashville Banner, went to Vanderbilt, and then the Nashville Banner, defunct paper now, hired him. And he first wrote an article about what a joke it would be, this Major League Baseball notion to Nashville. I don't know what the real story is, guys, but I don't think we'd support it right.
I think the cities that'll end up with it, Montreal may end up with another one, Vegas, Charlotte. Those are the cities I think that may end up. They're talking Portland. I don't know if Portland's big enough either. Bill, last thing, and maybe we can flesh this out a little more in the future, because I'm still just halfway through this Supreme Court decision that came down the other day, which is limited to football and basketball, but it's opening up the NCAA to other things. And when I'm reading through this decision, what I'm seeing is that there's probably going to be a decentralizing of who makes the rules, and it's going to empower the individual leagues. Are you reading that too?
I think so. And you know what Tennessee fans are bringing up? Not that they want him back, but did Jeremy Pruitt do anything wrong? If this is the future. I mean, where is he? He's with the Jets or the Giants now. I don't even know. But Yeah, guys, I tried to read it. It was too much boilerplate for me. I did not. You would think I'd soak into that story. And I'm more into the name, image, likeness, because that's easier. The 12-team expansion possibilities and the freebie transfer. I'm more on that boilerplate than the Supreme Court thing. I tried to read through it and didn't get very far.
Yeah, because Gorsuch or whoever, whatever clerk wrote it for him was like giving you like basically a history of college football from the 1860s until the very present.
Yeah.
Kind of funny to read that stuff. But you're right, and you're we're all taking different avenues into focusing on how just college sports is changing in such drastic ways. I mean, it doesn't look the same as it did a year ago, and months from now, it's going to feel a lot different too. So, I mean, it's just the avenue that you choose to talk about, right?
I'm not, admittedly, guys, I'm not real good with change, so I'm not liking it. My love, I guess, is unconditional for the sport, college football, but I'm not rocking with all this stuff right now. I'm having a tough time.
Yeah.
Bill, you bring up the NIL, and it's affected college basketball, at least on the front of it, with a lot of some legendary coaches retiring. They say it's not 100% due to NIL, or NIL doesn't have anything to do with it, but the timing just feels suspicious that it is. Do you see that turning into what college football will be with coaches as soon as the NIL really gets momentum, that we see some guys just say, I'm out, I can't do it?
Probably the old guard, except Saban. Saban adapts to whatever. I don't think that's what'll run him off eventually, but I do think old guard. And look, Krzyzewski's been around a long time. He's got more natties than he probably ever dreamed of having. Not much more for him to accomplish, and he's probably tired. But recruiting, one and dones, freebie transfer, now the name, image, likeness. If you're part of the old guard, you may be saying, look, this is not for my age group. And it's not. I mean, think about it. It's really not. And here's what, look, I can just tell you real quick. Openly, all the coaches are saying the right thing. This is wonderful. It's beautiful. These kids all deserve it. Behind the scenes, everybody's got their hair on fire, saying, what the bleep? This is going to be crazy where we're going with this.
That's right. And hold on to your freaking seats. Bill, we'll let you go, man. Appreciate you. Always fun talking with you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bill.
Yeah, that's Bill King from Nashville Sports Radio. Drew, I'm going to add one term to our verboten list. Mount Rushmore season. I'm not going to do Mount Rushmore season. We're going to do bracket season.
Bracket. I can do brackets.
Bracket season or complaint season. Then again, that's 12 months out of the year. Complaint season. Anything but Mount Rushmore season, because that thing it made sense when it first came out. We've got to figure out another term for non-college sports season, which I think is what you mean when you say Mount Rushmore season.
Pretty much is summertime radio. Top 4 so-and-so to ever play it, so-and-so. Phone lines wide open type of stuff. We could spin
some discs. Yeah, we could turn into your station for hits. Or we could just be ESPN Arkansas and wrap the show up with Change My Mind. That's coming next.